Hello everyone, I'm Katie, and 10 days ago I had a baby right here in this very same room that I'm recording in today. In this video I want to share my thought process and reasoning as to why I chose to give birth at home, as I believe more people should learn about it and possibly consider this route for themselves. At the end of this video I will also share my birth story, as I personally really like watching and listening to those, and I think it might be helpful. Most likely this video will either resonate with you or you will think that I'm absolutely crazy. Regarding of that, please, I want you to respect my choice. It is my choice at the end of the day. And, the birth of a child is one of the most sacred moments of woman's life, and it kind of becomes a huge part of mother's identity. So please leave my choice to myself. Although this video is wildly different from anything you've seen on this channel before, I believe my audience will really appreciate this kind of content. The reason I believe so is 4 years ago, I started an annual small conference called the Underground Citadel. And while 90% of attendees are men, they really appreciated the home birth topic. It was one of the top favorites within the attendees. So I decided to bring it here online. All right. Let's get to it. Why did I choose to give birth at home? This decision was made based on the same exact principles myself personally and we as a family operate in other areas of our life. This is why we choose Bitcoin as a better money. This is why we believe having multiple passports is highly beneficial and necessary for a family. Based on the same exact principles, we decided that home birth is the way we want to proceed with. Simplifying to an extreme, we don't trust the establishment. And here comes the foil hat. But I do want to get more precise here, because it matters. It's not distrust on default, because I do recognize that modern medicine did make humans' life less fragile. I get it, I do. However, I don't consider childbirth a medical event unless complications appear. It's a physiological body's ability, and most women has proven to be able to go through it without medical interventions in most cases. Now, the problem is, while you cross the doorstep of the hospital, it does become a medical event. You get an IV, there's a lot of unnecessary monitoring involved, all the doctors and nurses checking on you based on their protocol. And all these seemingly small procedures actually play a huge role in a childbirth. Childbirth is a complex sequence of small wonders like hormones, mother's body's movement, her comfort and emotions. All this either help in childbirth when you allow nature to do its job, or they can also play against the mother if the procedure is disrupted. Hospital birthing experience is full of those disruptions. And I know based on my own experience, as 2 years ago, I did give birth in a hospital setting. And while everything went relatively well, I did have to push back on a lot of invasive medical approaches. I did have to keep my boundaries up the whole time. And this is a note for all the fathers out there. It was really important for my husband and I to be on the same page regarding all the decisions we've made. And because we were together at all the midwives' appointments, we knew exactly where we stand together as a family on all those decisions, because at some point I was unable to advocate for myself in a hospital. I was in active labor. This is not where your brain can work well and communicate well, especially when you're under pressure. So I want to tell all the fathers out there, please get involved. Make sure that the decisions you make as a family, you know exactly where your spouse stands, what you want for your child, because you're going to be her advocate during the labor. Also, I do want to come clean and say that I did plan a home birth for my first as well, but it didn't go according to the plan, as he was born earlier than the gestational age that is allowed and recommended for a home birth. Despite the fact that I did end up giving birth in a hospital, I still very happy that I was going through my prenatal care with a midwife. All those hours with midwife really gave me way more knowledge on how to nourish my body during pregnancy, how to manage pain during the childbirth, because I still do advocate against epidural, and I want you to look into that. There are reasons that a lot of people are loud about it. It gave me understanding on what are my non-negotiables during labor in a hospital. I knew exactly what I wanted to opt out of right away. So while it didn't go according to the plan, I'm still glad that I went through the first pregnancy with my midwife. Now let's get back to why I decided to give birth at home. Well, to cover the basics, my biggest problem with the medical system is misaligned incentives. The hospital's most desired scenario is always optimized for a short-term goal. While me as a mother, I want my child to have a high quality of life long-term. And this is where the misaligned incentives kick in. Just to give you an easy example, this is why the hospital will always utilize those unnecessary invasive procedures that do have a long-term side effect. Quite often, the baby will get on antibiotics just in case, only to realize 24 hours later that there is absolutely no sign of infection in baby's blood work, and we just nuked the little immune system the baby had, and now mother has to deal with rebuilding it for God knows how long. Another reason I like to have a full authority over what's going on with my body during the childbirth. Nobody can understand what I feel during the labor, not even a contraction monitor that has a single data point. While I, as a woman, as a mother, have all kinds of sensations letting me know when to push, when to rest, how to move. And I think it's incredibly powerful tool to have. And again, all those disruptions just turn off the woman's intuition, the woman's feelings. And then on top of it, we have a doctor telling you when to push, while your body is much better leader in that. Now, being attached to all those wires does limit your body's ability to move the way your body tells you. And it's really hard to opt out of an IV, of a contraction monitor in a hospital setting. It might be possible, depends on your birth team in the hospital, but again, why would you deal with that? Now, for those who aren't familiar with the operations of the home birth, you still do have a care provider if you choose to. The medical professional attending your birth is called midwife, and midwife is truly an expert, a highly skilled and certified professional when it comes to prenatal care, childbirth, newborn care, and postpartum care. And here I want to highlight that I highly appreciate the business model that comes with midwifery. You basically have a free market of care providers. You shop around, you choose somebody who is aligned with you on your principles. You ask them how they would respond on a certain events if they were to appear in a childbirth, in a pregnancy. You ask them a lot of questions that you want to know the answers to, and then you choose the one that you feel comfortable with. And this is where you have a direct client service provider relationship, which I highly appreciate. The payment goes directly from you to the midwife, therefore she will be more keen on listening what you as a client want and what kind of service you desire and demand. Direct relationship without a third party installing those misaligned incentives. You might say, oh, I chose my OB in a hospital as well, but in most scenarios, your chosen OB probably will not be able to make it to your birth. I say it based on my girlfriend's experience. It is a very common thing. And on top of it all, you have a terrible insurance industry completely breaking the relationship between care provider and the client. And I'm not going to go into that. I'm sure you guys know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to insurance.
Insurance.
So here you are in the comfort of your own home with a care provider you chose, and with a care provider you spent 20 hours with over the course of last 28 weeks. So this care provider actually knows your medical history, knows your diet, knows your workout routine. This person knows way more than your hospital OB could have ever gotten from your medical card. So this gives them a really good perspective on how to communicate with you during the childbirth. What's your body ability to do certain things? All this information is extremely valuable, and I felt very comfortable when my midwife walked in. She is a friend now. She's part of our community. She's a highly trusted person, and I was actually happy to see her while in an active labor. And while she does provide you with good advice on what to do and how to move, and either it's time to get in a pool or maybe try other positions, you still have a full authority over your body. You know exactly what's going on. Your body tells you everything. You can tap into your intuition, tap into your feelings, and do the job. without anybody telling you that according to the protocol, you're not allowed to be in this position, which I personally had with the hospital setting. Now I touch on why I chose a home birth, and I also touch on why I would choose a midwifery care for prenatal care. And now I want to say how nice it is to have a postpartum at home right away. I did not even think about this component of a home birth, but the operations just work. It was incredible to just get out of a pool with a child on my chest, get to my bed, and be comfortable right away, being absolutely set up with whatever I need. It's all in my reach. A good grass-fed homemade beef stew, all my teas, my shower, my bed, all these things are right there for your comfort, stress-free. Nobody is walking in to check on you when you're sleeping, and you set up a new operations as a family right away. You don't have to get used to 48 hours in the hospital setting with a newborn while you're a toddler at somebody else's house, or maybe with you at the hospital. And then you get home and now you have to set up new operations with newborn in your house. You just right there transitioning into your new life. Now being 10 days postpartum, I realized that I did not think about this additional bonus of a home birth, but I really do appreciate that. I'm 10 days postpartum, I'm not sleep deprived. The operations of the family have been set in place. We have a 2-year-old toddler, and now we also have a 10 days old little baby, and things just work. Now I'm happy to answer any questions and concerns you have about home birth. I'm obviously by no means a medical professional or an expert when it comes to home birth, but I did live through my own story, and I will be answering those based on my own experience. And now for those curious, or for those who just want to understand how the operations of home birth work, here comes my birth story. I personally listen to a lot of home birth stories. I watch a lot of them on YouTube. So here comes mine. So at 37 weeks, my husband and I set up a birthing pool. Obviously, we didn't fill it up yet, but it was just there. And I also really went in for making my birth space perfect, especially because I went past my due date and I needed some projects to accomplish in the last days leading to the labor. So I was just working on that sometimes, my own kind of nesting. So as I went past my due date, over the last 2 weeks, every night I've been going to bed hoping that I would wake up in labor. So here I am on a Saturday morning, woke up at 6:30 a.m. with absolutely no signs of labor. So I'm over here thinking, okay, what are our plans for the day again? Because clearly nothing's happening, probably farmer's market, what else? My son and my husband did not wake up yet, so I decided to have a morning for myself, which is kind of an unusual thing. And I'm over there sitting, sipping coffee on the front porch, having my perfect morning. Then by 7:30, the family woke up, I made breakfast, and at 8 a.m., I'm feeding my 2-year-old breakfast, and like extreme pain comes to my hips that just gets me down on my knees on the floor, and I have no idea what's going on because it feels nothing like the contractions with my first child and nothing like the training contractions I've been having over the last 3 weeks. It is way less of a pressure and muscular pain and much more of a bone pain in my ligaments, in my hips, and in my lower back. And while I didn't realize right away it was contractions, I then noticed that there is a very certain consistency going on. So I'm having this pain for a full minute and every 5 minutes. So after 3-4 contractions, I am texting my midwife and I'm saying, something might be happening, just heads up for now. So that's 8:16 a.m. My husband realized right away that those were contractions because why is my wife laying on the floor on her floor? What else might be happening? So he started tracking, like timing my contractions right away. At 9 a.m., I was already barely managing pain, trying to take a shower, but mostly rolling on the shower's floor. And that's when I told my husband to call the midwife and tell her to come over as soon as she can. In the meantime, my husband was already filling up the birth pool while my 2-year-old was hanging out with grandma and grandpa. By 9:20, midwife walked in. She was extremely fast to get here, and at 9:20, I was already clearly in very, very active labor, as I could barely communicate with my husband or my midwife. But the moment she walked in, I said to myself, "Oh, I love you." I was so happy to see my midwife again. Like, she's a friend now, and I wanted to have her during my labor specifically to help me go through this experience. So the moment I get to the pool, I'm in heaven, truly, because at this point my contractions were so close together that I could not catch a break. And once I got into the water, I felt like I could actually relax in between contractions. They were a little more spaced out. And this is when the pushing stage started. And the pushing stage was completely different from my first childbirth, because back then it felt like the contraction comes, I push. But this time in the pool, my body would just very much tell me that I need to push here and there. And sometimes it would be just a very small push for 2-3 seconds. And then other times it would be just a 15-second. And again, by no means with the full strength, just a little bit. And then about 15 minutes later, I felt a strong urge to push. And this is where the head came out. After that, it felt like the job is done. Nothing hurts. There's no pain. Everything feels good. And what pretty cool is the head was still in the amniotic sac, so my water never broke. So for next 2 minutes, my body didn't tell me to push at all. I was just chilling in a pool with my baby's head underwater, which is totally fine, by the way. And 2 minutes later, I felt the next urge to push, and that's where my son was born. We still had to take the amniotic sac off of his head, his mouth. It was a very special moment. And then he let his voice known to us, which at this point, it's a miracle. It truly is. I'm not crying. So yeah, at 9:59 a.m. he was already born. And as you can see, 8 a.m. first contraction, 9:59 he was born, less than 2 hours throughout the whole process. And then I stepped out of the pool, got onto my bed, and about 20 minutes later, the placenta was born, and my child was still attached to the placenta for the next 40 minutes after that. Then my husband cut the umbilical cord while the baby was already nursing. After that, we spent about an hour with midwives going through necessary measurements, talking through the postpartum care, newborn care, etc. And by 12 p.m., there was nobody in the house but my family. We were all snuggling in bed, celebrating life. The midwives really took care of cleaning the birth space after the birth, taking down the birthing pool, etc. So it was absolutely wonderful experience. By the midday on Saturday, I already had the baby and I was all set in my house, which again, it was perfect. Again, just to walk you through operations, 48 hours later, the midwife came over again to check on us, to do baby weight, whatever tests I opted in to do, like blood work, etc. And she will be still coming over for the next 6 weeks as part of the postpartum care. So that's my birth story. I hope it encouraged some of you to look into the home birth and possibly consider if that's the route you want to take for you and your family. And I highly recommend that. You are meant to do that. You are absolutely capable of that.